you open your Bibles, please, to the Song of Solomon. We're in the midst of this study, and we are trying to follow through with as we go verse by verse to look at the movements of the psalm. And we have to I have taken a position of a lover, that's a shepherd lover. But I want to let you know that a lot of people will think all of these are Solomon. There's no contradiction. If you believe it's just Solomon all through this, I think you can make a good point that this is the love of Solomon for his Shulamite wife, that he wants to be his wife, and they're coming together, and then there is her responding, and we'll say it's just responding just to Solomon because he's kind to her and so forth. And I don't think there's a contradiction, especially what we're going to look at tonight, but the conflict comes a little through later when, how come your love for one is better than another? If they both love each other that way, why are they separated? And even if you take Solomon, those who do, will see there's a conflict and they got mad at each other and they had to apart from one another. Well, I think you're reading, why did they have to leave? It may be that it's a picture of anticipation to be with one another, and sometimes we think it happened, and we might think it happens tonight, and all of a sudden they're apart and she wants to get back with Solomon. There's a lot of people, and it's valid from the text, but there comes the point that I think is set forth here of her beloved, and that she has in her mind, and it fits with why you still have the refrain, don't force love, especially at the end. And I think at the end she's still longing for her lover. If she's longed for Solomon, they're together, they're apart, and they're back together again. And that may be the case, that she just loves Solomon, and he loves her, and she likes the qualities of Solomon, and those things could certainly be true. But if I were to give every little viewpoint every time I go through this, and I think some would say, why don't you make up your mind? Well, why do you confuse us with all those others? That's why I'm not confusing you. I'm driving at a certain point, and I may be off base, and I want you to know I understand that I can be off base. Some of this is very difficult to put into a consistent pattern, but I think the pattern that I have is more consistent with any other viewpoint, and it fits with what's the drama that's taking place. And so we're at this point where you could still think, well, this is all about Solomon, and I think it could be a very valid point that you're making. We're in Song of Solomon, question number 1 in our Bibles. And what we see here in these chapters, this is chapter 3, verse 1, right on through chapter 5 and verse 1. We observe that now she's thinking about him. The dream of the Shulamite woman finds and holds on her true beloved. Now, if you think that's Solomon, I think it would fit. I don't. I think it's about her lover. But this is where the differences come, and what we're going to see is the pure, honest feelings about what. If it's for Solomon, good. If it's for her shepherd lover, it's good. So there's nothing wrong. We're not looking at, hey, I'm fascinated by that man. We're talking about marriage, my bride, my sister, my bride, either from any way you look at it. Her relationship with Solomon, she's going to be one of his brides. She wants to be the bride, I think, of the shepherd boy. And and they want to be married to her too. So we're not infatuated with the retraction between a male and a female. He's a man, I'm a woman, or vice versa. So that doesn't interfere. We don't have to get bogged down in those things. But she has her beloved, and she's dreaming about him. And we've seen in these first 2 chapters, she has respect for Solomon. She opens up, the kisses with his mouth. The love is better than wine, and the daughters of Jerusalem would agree with her. There is indeed that idea of flattery that he would pick her, and there's the feelings that they have, that he has for her. And so what we see here is that by night on my bed I sought him whom my soul loveth. You say, well, that's Solomon? Okay. I'm teaching from the standpoint, I think this is her shepherd lover that she's thinking about, that she's dreaming about. So what does the Shulamite woman find in her dream? First of all, she doesn't find him. And so she can't find Solomon yet. Solomon's not, but they are apart. In fact, some will say the mountains of Befer are not the satisfaction sexually of the woman to her love for Solomon or the shepherd boy, but the mountains of Bether is talking about the separation. We're separated from one another, and we want to be together. Well, she would be thinking about that. So it could be Solomon. She's not there yet. We're going to see that she comes there with all of her glory in a few moments. But there's the sense of why it could be Solomon, or why I can think about her desire for her lover, and now she thinks about him. But she sought him and could not find him. And he says, I will rise now and go about the city. In the streets and in the broad ways I will seek him whom my soul loveth. I sought him, I didn't find him. The watchmen that go about the city found me, and when I saw this, and when I saw ye him whom my soul loveth, he asked them that. It was but a little that I passed from them, and I found him whom my soul loveth. I held him and would not let him go, until I had brought him into my mother's house, and into the chamber of her that conceived me. So she finds her beloved, her lover. When she could not find him, finally she finds him. And this is the drama that's coming. This is a poetry. This is the type of poetry we have among the Hebrews. The watchman of the city. So is that the watchman of Jerusalem? Or is it the watchman of the city where she's from? And I get the picture that she's in her homeland. Why? I want to grab him. I want to hold on to him and go where? Solomon's palace, Solomon's bedchamber. Where do I want to be with my beloved? And where her mother is. The word chamber there is the innermost part of the house. Private, dignified. That's where her mother slept and where her children were conceived. She wanted to be at home with her beloved, and that would be an honor. It'd be dignity, and where she could consummate her relationship with her lover. It'd be like what mother and father did. Very honorable. It's pure. But it's the house of her mother, not where she's going to be with Solomon. There's the drama, there's the conflict, and it rolls through this song that is being said. But the point is that she would like to take Solomon back home, and she would love him like that, which would be very, very, very dignified. So it's all pure, and we can say, well, we're still talking about that. But this is where I am taking it to her lover, her beloved, that she'll always think about all through this song, while Solomon is thinking about her, and she's giving that relationship dignity. And I think she very well may do it in this section. We'll see this at the end. So here is a second time, as she's thinking about him, not Solomon, and as she's getting ready to have to come to Solomon, what does she say for the second time? I adjure you, O daughters of Jerusalem. So here's my group of daughters of Jerusalem. They love to be in the harem of Solomon. He's glorious king. He's very good looking. All of those things that and she's she is speaking off of them. That's the way the poetry works. And we've seen that in a lot of Shakespeare plays and so forth. We see that type of thing going, so I can get my thoughts across and bounce it off of the daughters of Jerusalem that she's kind of a part of. She's part of the harem and so forth, and these would be ones that like that. So this is the second time I bring you under an oath. I make an oath that I want you to swear by the animals that scamper above in the nature. And it's interesting that both roes and hinds are feminine. We don't have a buck going against a doe when she does this. We got two feminine words. Daughters of Jerusalem, by the roes or by the hinds of the field, the females. I want you to think about this as females, that you stir not up nor awake thy love until he please. They would need to understand the wisdom of that. And you could say, well, until he stirs up as his please, he's getting ready to bring you to his chambers. He's ready to bring you to Jerusalem. And therefore you can wait for him because he's stirring up your love because you have that love for him. Yeah, that's a possibility. But I think is that here is the warning and here comes the break. All of a sudden, she is in the state car of Solomon, his carriage. He's not there. They're bringing her to him. And the daughters of Jerusalem are just anticipating that. And what a glorious time. And it's pictured as a glorious time. It's not something that's negative. It is something that is positive. But it comes after this warning, and I'm saying her heart is with a beloved, and that's where her heart is. Don't stir it up before it's time. Now, she's going to play the part admirably. And it's not that it's not honest with her feelings and so forth. But that's the problem of many wives, one husband. That's the problem of that not one man for one woman. That's the problem in the days of Solomon, whose early on has not as many concubines and queens as he will have before his rule is over and before his life is over. But this is early on, and it is picturing him in these early days, and it's a statement against polygamy, and Solomon was part of that. And while it's glorious from the standpoint of Solomon, and while it's honored by this Shulamite girl, it's not the way it ought to be. And God is directing these words. These are inspired words, but it's an indictment against Solomon. But it's in the picture of how that's going to be held in an honorable way. And God would allow that until the coming of Christ. So she's looking for her beloved. She can't find him, then she finds him. And then she warns. Now here she comes. Beginning with verse 6, we begin to see what is taking place. So what does the woman say again? Question number 2. We talked about there's the second refrain. There'll be 3 of them. And what is that a warning of? Don't stir up love before he pleases or it pleases, till love pleases. Well, who would be the one she falls in love with? It'll be a he. Until he pleases. Till that is the one you truly love. That would be the way it ought to be. And she longs for that. She's daydreaming about it, and she's going to dream at night about it as the song continues. So those also in mind. We'll now go to question number 3. What is the litter of Solomon and a palanquin? What is that? David? Yeah, it's just 2 ways of saying the same thing. And you can see the picture. Here's a box. it's about silver, and the word that we're looking at there, litter, simply means a couch. And it's in a carriage, and it may have a lot of sticks on it, and some men, strong men, are carrying it across the country. But you get the picture. You've seen that. And here's all of the glory that is taking place, how it's decorated. So he wants us to see the magnificence and the glory that's connected with Solomon. Solomon had it built. It is the king's carriage. And he is sent northward into the mountains of Lebanon. South of that would be Shunem. And he's bringing his future bride to Jerusalem. And it's perfumed with myrrh and frankincense. It's supposed to smell good. With all the powders of the merchant. So there's the fragrance there. Here's the glory. Behold, it's the litter of Solomon, the couch of Solomon. Is she driving along with people who are protect her? Especially at night, isn't it? What happens at night? Well, these men are ready. How many men are there? There's 60 of them, and they're all mighty men of Israel, and they all can handle a sword, and they have it at their thigh. They're ready to step in and protect this girl. Would you be pretty impressed with that? I must be pretty special. But she's very humble. She's that way throughout the song. But they all handle a sword. Every man has sword upon his thigh, and it's just a couch. It is palanquin. It's what is the carriage that she's riding in. And because every man has a sword, because of the what? The fear in the night. We're going to protect this Shulamite girl. All right? King Solomon made himself a palanquin. And the wood of Lebanon. So here's probably the cedars. That probably smells pretty good. He made the pillars thereof of silver. What's the bottom of that carriage? The bottom thereof is of gold, and the seat of it is purple. There's the royal connection. It got silver and green and gold. I still think I see that a lot of royalty with the Queen of England a lot of times. Those are colors that I've seen connected with royalty. And that's his carriage for her. In the midst thereof, being engraved and paved with what? Love. Now it takes you away from what stone is that? What backsplash is that? And in the midst of it, while you have the bottom and the couch, in the midst of it, it is inlaid with love. Because all of this, to be in love with Solomon, and that sort of thing, that would be an honor. It's inlaid with love. It didn't tell you what stone it was. It makes you now go to the point what it's symbolizing. The rest of this was very literal. Colors. But there is the love. This is his carriage. He loves her. It's inlaid with love. And that's an honor to her. But he says that was inlaid in love from the daughters of Jerusalem. We saw earlier, they would be willing to make everything ready for her. They're anticipating her to come, and it's chosen by Solomon. And they would make that, well, this is the love that the daughters of Jerusalem had for Solomon. And to be chosen by him is quite an honor. He says, go forth, O ye daughters of Zion, and behold King Solomon, with the crown therewith wherewith his mother hath crowned him, in the day of his espousals and the day of the gladness of his heart. So after she gives the warning, what is the litter? We've got that in our mind. Who helped decorate the palanquin inlaid with love? It's the daughters of Jerusalem. What crown is under consideration now? It's the one that is kingly crown, makes him king. He's already got that. But it's a crown connected with his espousals. It's a marriage wreath. Bathsheba made it for him. That's his mother. She loves him. This is probably early in upon his reign, because she had to honor his kingship, and Adonijah, who wanted to take it away from him, she had to deal with him. And there was another Shunammite girl, Abishag, who warmed David's feet when he's old. And here's a man that wanted Solomon to give her as his wife. And he had him killed. And he was appealing to Bathsheba to get the king to do something. So they're close. But it's the idea of woman preparing this aspect for the groom, and there's his mother. And there would be the wreath placed upon his head full of flowers, a garland around his head. It's not the king of Jerusalem crown. It's connected with this context, I believe, of his marriages, and therefore with this particular one, he wants to be his wife. And so we begin to see how that has come about, and now they're together. And we come to our questions, and question number 6, what is the sevenfold description? What sevenfold description does Solomon give to how fair the Shulamite woman is before his eyes? This is the physical attraction, and it's a physical attraction of Solomon toward his to-be wife. And it's interesting, we got to put ourselves in the place, and the one thing I'm seeing, so it'd be wrong to think that he's criticizing her. A man can do that, I guess. Well, you're not as perfect as somebody else, but you'll do. You're one of the 60. I think all of it has to be interpreted as a positive thing. So that needs to temper our interpretation if we're going to get the point. Why doesn't he have 8 points that he likes? Why 7? Why is that number kind of important in the Bible? Completeness, fullness. I don't need to say anything more. Every aspect about her is perfect, especially in these areas. So, as you list them, we'll just list them in order. What does he start with first? Is her eyes, right? Behold, that eyes are as doves. And where are they located right now? She got her veil, all the modesty. She don't shine her face upon, doesn't belong to the others, but he sees those. And we talked about the dove's eyes. And we talked about how the eyes are going to be mentioned later as the deep pools of Heshbon. And a lot of people say that, a dove's eye just staring at you. They're just big, and they just stare at you. And that's true. And they say, well, that means she only has eyes for you, Solomon. I'm not so sure about that. But her eyes are velvety, they're soft, they're deep like a pool. They're intriguing, and they're behind a veil, and he knows she's going to be mine soon. That's an attractive thing to him, and that's a positive thing. What's next? Her hair. What's that like? Is that a good thing? Oh, so you got a pretty picture there, don't you? And it is flowing down the mountain. It's going down the side of Mount what? Gilead. So you picture yourself, you got it blowing in the wind. I got it full. I can see a whole picture, just solid goats. And they're all coming together, and I can see she has a lot of beautiful hair. It's flowing down the side of Mount Gilead. That could be part of that. Yes, sir. Yeah. Yeah. She had good hair extensions, didn't she? That'd be the modern thing. Whoa, your extensions are great. Is that yours? Oh, yeah. But this is her hair. And so you picture that, and we wouldn't think your hair is like a flock of goats. I won't be taken home, thank you. I don't want dinner now. She's called it, it's been like a bird, and we've seen like, but the point is those are compliments, because here's the dealing with things of nature, and the fact that they were involved in all of the things about the vineyards and growing things. They're next to the earth, and they're next to the goats, the flocks, the sheep. He's going to continue to describe it that way. So there's it kind of along the side of the mountain of Gilead. So what you picture, I think, is exactly right. What's next? Her teeth. Do you examine the teeth of your wife? Well, you probably have seen her smile. You probably have engaged. Well, he's engaged with her teeth. And so what do you get from her teeth?
She's not missing anything.
What?
She's not missing anything.
Is that the first thing that comes to your mind?
Yeah, they did not miss any of their gums.
No, I think that's true. But couldn't you say they're white first? Okay, thank you. You're not missing any of your teeth. Hey, could be my wife. But he describes it as, again, the flock of ewes that have been newly shorn. I could think you see that, because we're going to apply this to the teeth, but it's still the image is of, because the lambs, the sheep have twins. And that's, we talked that we apply that to the teeth. But now that newly shorn, and then they're washed, is to think about white. So they are even. When you shore, when you're shearing sheep, there's an even part there. They're even, and it's like them being white, and they're white and even. And then Sally says, so how are they like twins? They're twins. But you have twins, you got two that look alike, right? They're side by side. And you're not missing any. And when you get older, could that fit with upper plates and lower plates? I'm being facetious, but is it that I got the same thing up here I got down here, and I don't have any missing? I think that's a perfect picture. What about you? But the twins are still the sheep. And they're not losing any twins. They're together. And I think there's a match. And so some would say, that's where my teeth go. And there is a match, and there's not any of them missing. Or you could say they're just filled together. They're twins. They're so closely connected together, there's nothing missing. We're not talking about the lowers. Or when I look at the lowers, we're not talking about the uppers. But I think it's a full picture of her teeth. And you've got to spend a little time with that. But I think when you look at all of what he says, the idea of being even and white and fully there, that's a compliment. That's a compliment. And why do many people want to enhance their smile? Why do people spend a lot of time with their teeth to enhance their smile? Is there anything wrong with that? No, but we don't see ourselves when we smile, and then sometimes when we become self-conscious, what do people do? They don't smile. They don't smile. They're not going to show their teeth. And there's ways of taking care of that now. But apparently he's been able to see her teeth, and they're pretty good. I don't know what dentist she had, but at that time, things are good. And she had youth on her side too. And that's and we're looking at the vigor of youth, Solomon young, and those things taking place. Oh, we're not through yet. So we go from the teeth, and what do we find next? What's number 4? The lips. What are they like? They're like scarlet. That would be, and that color is glistening red. It's bright, it's shining, and it's probably a reddish color. I think it includes the beauty of her mouth as well. When she speaks, her mouth is comely, it's beautiful, highlighted by her lips, which are glistening and maybe the reddish color. And remember, her skin is tanned by the sun. And so he's captivated by her physical beauty. And that's part of married love. We fall in love, and there's the physical attraction. And this is a way of how they're describing that, and it's very beautiful, and it's instructive. It's dignified. Thy temples are like what? So what are we talking about the temples? The Hebrew word denotes the thin part of the skull. So we've got it on this side. They kind of emphasize the gateway into the eyes, but the temples are there. They're behind the veil too. But they stand out to him. And it's like a what? Outside of a pomegranate or the inside? How would I make that distinction? It's a piece of pomegranate, like maybe it's been cut. And that may make a lot of difference, but I want to get a piece of it because it's been cut. And the inside was a reddish brown. We may be talking about how her cheekbones were beautiful, and the blush of her face is behind the veil. He can see that. But he speaks about the temples that are there, and that's how he describes them. What comes next? What comes after the temples? That's not where they worship. It's the temples of her body, her face. What's the sixth one? Okay. And how does he describe her neck? Okay. Now, is that beautiful to you? Depends how you're going to describe beauty. Well, it's beautiful enough to put 1,000 shields of David's army about her neck. What does that do for you? What kind of beauty is that? Yeah. And 1,000 just say, hey, all the jewels, you still beautify. But as a tower of David, if we think, well, she just has a long neck, I think the only one, no, it wasn't. In Popeye loved olive oil. Did she have a long neck? Always did. And I never thought she was real beautiful, but he thought so. And what's the big guy named? Brute? Yeah, he was one that thought she was pretty special too. My mind can go there because she has a tower of a neck. My mind can go there, but that's not. He's saying it's stately, it's dignified. It is beautified by the ornaments. You set it off. Those ornaments are beautiful, and your neck is stately. It sets those things off, and it brings our attention to how lovely your neck is. That's what he's going for. Beauty is not, it's real long and layered, that we could put a shield on each level. It is that which is stately because it's like a tower. It's strong, and it contains the beauties about your neck very well. Yes, sir.
Also, the tower, if you're saying stately, but also straight. The neck hasn't been bowed down by worries and all this. That she's just kind of bowed down with it.
Yeah, it's stately. That's right. Like a tower. So that's the form of beauty too that is set forth. And then what is the seventh one? He's been about the neck. What does he describe next? Her breast. And there is indeed the beautiful picture that he describes of her, that in describing them with, let me get to the verse here, that two breasts are like two fawns, that are two twins of a roe. which feed among the lilies. There's the beauty of two twins. There deals with the breast and the field among the lilies. It's soft, it's dignified, it's beautiful. Fawns are young. And all of those things are that which attract Solomon. And they're sevenfold, and they will be repeated by Solomon, because that's what has grabbed his attention. Question number 7, for where does Solomon call his love? This Shulamite girl, where does he call her from? Come with me, verse 8, from where? He's not in Lebanon. She is. He's having her come. He's captivated by her beauty, and he wants her to come from Lebanon. So is he visualizing her? They're not there yet, together yet. She's still traveling? It very well could be. She's still traveling. Come. You're coming from Lebanon. I've got the state car for you, and you're in it. And this is where he longs for her, but to come from Lebanon. How has the woman ravished Solomon's heart? What does she say in verse 9? Thou hast ravished my heart, my sister, my bride, married love, husband-wife type love. Thou hast ravished my heart with what? One of your eyes. What does that mean? She winked at him? Not necessarily. I think she has beautiful two eyes. But it's the idea of her eyes are as one as staring at her with all of the deepness and the softness of her eyes like a dove. They attract him. He's still thinking about her eyes. But it's not like you just got one eye, or you only use your one eye. It's that your eyes are singular. They're focused on me, and I'm anticipating that idea of being together. Now, question number 9 and 10. To whom does the Shulamite woman want the spices of her garden to blow? That's where we have to make an interpretation of these things. In chapter 4 and verse 16, awake, O north wind, and come thou south. Where's she coming from? North to south. Blow thou my garden, that the spices thereof may flow out. Let my beloved come into his garden and eat his precious fruits. I'm coming from north to south. Let the fragrance of my garden, her beauty, her love, the sexual pleasures that she offers him, let it blow up. It's my garden. And let my beloved come into his garden and eat his precious fruits. And she said, that's how I've got to feel towards Solomon. So you may think that's Solomon. And you have a point, because who speaks next? I am come into my garden, my sister, my bride. I've gathered my myrrh with spice. There's all the fragrance that there are these 7 fragrances, spices we talked about, but that he said, I've gathered them. I've eaten my honeycomb with my honey. I have drunk my wine with my milk. Eat, O my friends, drink ye, drink abundantly, O beloved, because he's now going to consummate that marriage. And it could be him responding to her. She with honor, though her heart may be elsewhere for a beloved, she at this moment says that I would give him my love, and it's an honorable thing. And he desires her, and that's what we see. So who has come to his garden in chapter 5 and verse 1? Some would say Solomon, and that would not contradict that. We're trying to figure it out. I think that's the shepherd lover responding to her when she says, I am now going to be Solomon's, but this is where my heart is. I want my vineyard to be for him, and it's not going to be that way. She'll be having to go to Solomon. And therefore, we find that she continues to think about her love, her beloved, as we go into the next chapter. So we're making distinctions here. We're going a different way. There may be that you believe it is, but to answer the question, and it's been asked, is there a contradiction of thinking about Solomon and the good qualities that he had and how soft he was toward her, all of it's dignified about Solomon? I don't find contradiction there. But sometimes, because of the division, not being, she's always looking for that love. Why do you have a love for one and more than another? Why would there be any other if it's just all about Solomon and their love for each other? Why would they ever be apart? They found each other. That'd be wonderful. But she's now belonging to Solomon, and she may, and that may be her talking and Solomon's responding. But I know where her heart is, and that's the sadness of the story.